Welcome to Military Faith and Spiritual Resilience. This is Elizabeth Fulgaro. With me today is Alexandra Siliezar, sister to former U.S. Marine Abraham Siliezar. Thank you for being with us again, Alexandra.
Thank you so much for having me back.
Yeah. You were sharing part of your story as a family of coming from El Salvador to the United States and having to get adjusted and grow. And now I'm curious because Abraham is the Marine we're kind of here to talk about today. So could you share a little bit about growing up with Abraham and what he was like and how he ended up in the military?
My beautiful Marine, thank you. Yes, my brother was extremely loving and protective of me, and he was proud. He was a hard worker. He loved to study. He was super talented. I remember watching him draw. I thought he was, to this day, I think he should have been doing cartoons because he was so good. And, as a adolescent, I remember watching and listening to him, like buying records, Beatles and later on Blondie, and just different music. And I would just listen and watch. And, as a young child, you always look at your, the teens or the preteens around you. And so he was, even though just 3 years, he was also culturally, being the boy, and being the oldest. So he was always leading the pack. And I just really love watching him. My mom tells a story of one day she was walking with all three of us, and I must have probably been a toddler. I don't really know the age, but my mom said, or perhaps even younger, and my mom said, I have no idea if I was too tired to keep walking or what happened. And she said, just let's leave her behind, just leave. And that my sweet Abraham came back and said, no, the ants will eat her. No, let's take her with us. And he must have probably, again, been just maybe 6 or 7. I have no idea how old, or maybe 5, who knows. But he was really, just really loving and sweet. And I know you asked about growing up, but, to this day, the word sister, I hear his voice quite vividly because he called me my sister.
I called you, that was his name for you.
He would say, "Hi, sister, this is your brother."
Oh, that's so sweet.
Every day.
Every day, that's
Every
wonderful.
Day. Hi, sister. And whenever we came across anyone, he would say, "This is my sister."
Oh, that's really special.
Yeah.
He would have been 14 when you came to the United States? That's even more different than it was for you.
Absolutely. As an adult, I realize now how much more challenging even just those minor 3 years make a huge difference for someone, especially an immigrant.
Yeah. Did you notice anything for him in terms of how it was for him?
I think in retrospect, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Not then. I think that as children, we have this very sort of narrow perspective that the world just revolves around you, so everything revolved around me.
Sure.
And I never really paid attention when it revolved around them.
Yep.
But in retrospect, in our conversations now or then, I realized some of his very difficult challenges and things that he had to face, especially being a man and especially being the oldest. And another layer to that is culturally, like what it means to be the eldest male in a Latin family.
Do you notice a difference in that role between what you know about El Salvador and what you now know about the United States?
I don't know about that question. I have to really think about that. But what I do know about us is that what he always said, I need to do something with my life. And what I do want to say is that as an immigrant, I think that all immigrants come for a better chance, right? And even though we had a very good chance, we had means in our country. We were not suffering financially, but politically, things unraveled, whether we liked it or not, that were out of our control. Mm-hmm. And for the sake of safety and for the sake of parents giving their children a better future, that goal is something, or that responsibility is on our shoulders. Yes. To follow our parents' dreams, to make sure that their sacrifices come to fruition.
That would be heavy sometimes.
It's heavy. It's heavy. Yeah.
Did you notice that on Abraham? As the oldest son,
yes,
too?
I would say yes. Yes.
Do you have any additional thoughts on that, of what he might have felt? And I know you're just kind of looking back, reflecting. We're not asking him.
Mm-hmm. No, but yes, I'm quite aware, because he often said, he always said, and actually the reason I think he joined the military is because he was an extraordinarily intelligent person. I would even say gifted. But we were not of the means to put ourselves through university as immigrants, and to have had, when parents, and as I referred in the earlier segment, is that parents themselves are adapting. So they're adapting to the new rules and society and availability of things in the community. And not all teachers really reach out to all children equally, and that happened to me as well in school, that not the avenues of scholarships are not necessarily discussed with all children equally. So not knowing what avenues he would have to help him, what resources he would have to help him. Mm-hmm. He had to do that on his own. And I had to do that on my own as well, separately and differently. But he had, 4 years to figure it out.
It's not very long. It's
on
just
his own.
And he's learning English, and he's learning about the new place he is. That's not very much time.
Yes, because you think of parents or generations who are born and raised here. There is knowledge of whether scholarships or anything. My parents didn't know that. So my brother did know the military, and he was actually just walking one day, and we used to have a lot of recruiting stations. I remember growing up in San Francisco. Now you don't see them anymore. But he passed by a recruiting station, and someone said, "Come on in," and he went in, and he saw that as an opportunity. And it wasn't that foreign, the conversation of being a military person. It was not a foreign conversation.
No, that makes sense. How old was he when he walked into that recruiter's office, do you think?
It was shortly after he graduated high school.
So he's looking for that next step. Mm-hmm. Was he looking at college at all, or was that not possible where you were at that time?
He was definitely interested. I personally don't know if he knew or did not know how to go about it.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so this became an option for him to find his way forward. That makes a lot of sense. Did he ever share why he picked the Marines?
Oh, yes, he did.
He did?
Share.
Oh, good.
Oh, yes, he did share. Actually, he wanted to be in the Air Force.
Okay.
And there was a test that he needed to take with the Air Force. And I'm not sure, what that test entails, and whether... but I think they wanted him to come back and retake the test. And there was a Marine table next to it. And they lured him into the Marines, and the few, the proud. And that same day, he was eager to move on with his life, to do that next chapter. So he said that very same day he signed, and that very next morning they came to pick him up.
Wow.
And he said often, "You were sleeping when I left. You did not know." So he left a note to my parents, and he left, and he went to Camp Pendleton.
So did they even know that he was signed up?
No, but we found out later. later that day when he was gone.
What was the family reaction?
My mom was heartbroken and anxious. I didn't know how to take that, so I just thought, okay, he's gone, and I was just busy in school, and I think I somewhat lost track of what was going on in his life when he joined.
What year was that?
I want to say 1982?
1982.
82, or let me see, hold on,
Yeah, give it
82,
a second.
84, that's, or real close to that. I think he was 82.
He went before you graduated high school, right?
Definitely.
And so, can you connect it with that date?
Well, he graduated from high school, I think, in 1982, so it might have been in 82. I think in just a couple of months, couple of months after he graduated. It didn't take long.
So when he went into the Marines, and your mom is struggling with this, when did you hear from him next?
Well, he wrote. I mean, we kept in touch. He went to Okinawa, and he went. He stayed there for a while. He worked in South Korea on the border as well, in the DNC, and he went to. He said he went to Vietnam. I think I lost track of him while he was in Vietnam, but he was also in the Philippines as well. And
what was his job in the military?
I do know he was a sharpshooter for the Marines, and I know that he worked on airplanes as well. If I can do justice. My memory's very poor, but I think he said he was working on the F-18s. He had very bad hearing, so I believe it because he could barely. It was like I could imagine that he was definitely having some issues with his hearing.
So was the hearing a result of his job in the Marines?
I do believe that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
We never got to actually fully do the testing, but yes, I do believe that.
How long did he stay in the Marines?
8 years.
8 years?
Yes.
Okay, so till about 1990?
Yes. 91, I think.
And what caused him to decide that his time in the military was done?
He went to his officer and said he was leaving. He told me he's, in joking, his higher-ranking officer said, "Oh, you couldn't hack it, huh, Marine?" And he said, "No, sir. I just have better things to do with my life." Oh. Not putting anything down on the Marines. He was incredibly proud, but it was just their inside joke.
No, I think that's really cute. So he was, I'm trying to think how old he was when he left the Marines. So 26?
Perhaps.
20, so yeah. 64, you said he's born? 1990. So he's not 30 yet.
Almost 30, I would say.
Almost 30. Yeah. Okay, so now he's still young. Right? Let's, I'd like to hear more about him. Can we do that next time?
Absolutely.
Okay.